What a time to be a Dolphins fan. They're high atop the AFC at 5-1 with a Sunday night football showdown against the Eagles. And I'm on cloud nine. I don't know if you can tell or not, but I'm fired up, excited to be with you. My name is Jake Rietma. I am your host. And let's get right into the news of the day. Dolphins fans, we've waited for this announcement for a while. Jalen Ramsey officially returning to practice today. Number 5 suited up in his practice uniform in the aqua and orange. And the huge offseason acquisition for the Dolphins is trending well ahead of schedule and could return as soon as even before the Dolphins bye week in 3 weeks. So crazy to think, but hey, it's crazy the way modern medicine works, and a testament to our guy Jalen Ramsey and his rehab way ahead of schedule. He is back. 6-time Pro Bowler, 3-time All-Pro, won a Super Bowl in 2022. He was the splash acquisition of the Dolphins in the offseason, and boy, what a midseason boost that would be to a Dolphins defense who could use some help in the secondary. Now, we're going to talk about all that it means, but here's the official tweet from Marcel Louis-Jacques talking about what McDaniel said about Jalen Ramsey, saying he's cautiously optimistic that Jalen Ramsey will play before the Dolphins Week 10 bye, which is crazy, but so awesome to hear. That's exceptional news. And so I know I'm excited. I know you're excited, but let me know by liking this video if you're excited to see Jalen Ramsey in a Dolphins uniform, competing, flying around, helping out that Dolphins secondary, and being that all-pro player and that type of player that can impact a defense that we know he is. So smash that like button. Jalen Ramsey returns to practice today, and the Dolphins at 5-1, high atop the AFC, are trending in the right direction of reloading and getting some major pieces back. Man, I'm excited. I know you can hear it in my voice. I am pumped for the return of Jalen Ramsey because it's going to be a much-needed boost for the secondary. And I don't want to call the secondary the weak spot of the defense, because obviously the Dolphins are a team, they're a unit defensively, but they've gotten pressure on the quarterback, but defensively as a secondary in their one loss to the Buffalo Bills, that is where they were exposed. So Xavien Howard, your clear-cut cornerback number 1, fighting a groin injury, that's something to keep an eye on. Caterco, who's been more effective as an inside corner in a dime or a nickel package or on the boundary. Eli Apple's the veteran, kind of I won't say a roller coaster season, but some games better than others. And the youngster, Cam Smith. So when you talk about adding Jalen Ramsey to this mix, what a boost that would be as a veteran, as a leader, and as an impact player to join the likes of Xavien Howard. Now, speaking of Xavien Howard, we know he's nagging that groin injury. It was something that took him out of the game against the Panthers. The game was well in the balance, so Mike McDaniel and company did not have him return, and there's no exact word on whether or not he could have returned. But with that said, we know that Xavien Howard is a crucial part of this defense, as is Conor Williams on the offensive side. So a quick little injury update here from Marcel Louis-Jacques, again talking about Conor Williams and Xavien Howard, saying they're day-to-day with groin injuries. They'll not practice today per Mike McDaniel. Now, Chris Brooks, we saw him a lot in mop-up time at the running back position. Unfortunately, after he had some really impressive runs and a guy that's showing a lot of promise, he went out with an ankle injury, and he's believed to be more on a week-to-week basis. Not season-ending injury, but again, that's a guy who I unfortunately is buried on the depth chart, just given the nature of the position group that the Dolphins have and the talent that they have at running back with Mostert, obviously Achane before the injury, Jeff Wilson potentially coming back. So we haven't seen a ton of Chris Brooks, the undrafted rookie out of BYU, but what we have seen has been impressive. However, he'll be more on a week-to-week basis with the injured ankle. Now, given the injuries in the secondary or potential injuries in the secondary, with Xavien Howard not returning to that game, we got to see the youngster Cam Smith, the rookie, second-round pick out of South Carolina. He made his NFL debut on Sunday, and I said it a couple of days ago. I'll say it again. I love seeing the youngster out there flying around. It's a guy you took a second-round pick in, so you obviously have invested in him. He showed a lot of signs of promise at both South Carolina and in the NFL Combine. I'm high on him, and I've just been so curious why he hasn't entered the starting, not even the starting lineup, but really the rotation, and why he hasn't had an opportunity to show what he can do. So I'm not wishing injury on anybody else, but if there's a case where Cam Smith has the opportunity to play a more involved role, I am just so curious what the rookie can do. 6'1", 180 pounds out of South Carolina, second-round pick, made his debut against the Panthers, and again, it was in garbage time, whatever you want to call it, late in the game, but I liked what I saw in a very limited sample size. So let me ask you this one. If Cam Smith, or does Cam Smith rather, see some more time on Sunday Night Football? Simple answer here. Type Y for yes or N for no. I'd love to see the rookie get a little bit more time because I think he can be an impactful player in the secondary. And after all, you drafted him second overall, or second in the second round, and believe he can make that kind of impact. Now, coming up, we're going to talk about a couple more roster moves that were made. Dolphins made a signing, had released a player. But first, I got to tell you about Prize Picks. You guys know I love Prize Picks. I'm actually kind of addicted to it. It's the most exciting and easiest way to play daily fantasy sports. It's real simple. And how does it work, Jake? Well, I'm so glad you asked. You simply pick more or less on a given player's stat projection. And there's lots of different stat projections you can get into. I like to keep it simple, I won't lie, but there's other different picks you can make. And this week, because I've been burned a couple of times, I'm keeping it real simple because, frankly, I think the top one here is stealing. Tyreek Hill, I'm picking more than 0.5 combined, now that's important, combined pass, rush, or receiving touchdowns. So, in essence, all Tyreek has to do is get in the end zone, and because I've picked more, I would be successful in that one. So pick more or less with Jalen Waddle. I think he's got a breakout game coming, so I've picked more on his projected receiving total at 64.5. And that's how it works. You're not competing against a bunch of people in a survivor pool or something like that. You're simply picking more or less for a player's projected stats. So don't waste any more time. Go ahead and create your account at prizepicks.com/CLNS. And for being a Dolphins fan, we've got a $100 deposit match waiting for you. It's that easy. Create the account. Use promo code CLNS for that $100 deposit match from your friends here at Dolphins Today. So we always make it easy on you. We put the link in the description and the comments of this video. So one more time, prizepicks.com/CLNS. Easy, exciting ways to play daily fantasy sports. I love it. You'll love it too. So go to prizepicks.com/CLNS for that $100 deposit match. All right, some Dolphins roster updates. You know, it was talked about Jeff Wilson potentially returning. We're going to get into that, and I'm excited to potentially see him in the running back rooms. But first, the latest roster moves. The Dolphins signed Quentin Bell to the practice squad. And they went ahead and released Chase Winovich. Now, Bell doesn't have a ton of NFL experience, played in 9 games in his career, most recently with the Atlanta Falcons. And Winovich, you might recall, he had, I wouldn't say a prominent career, but was more well-known at the University of Michigan, big program there in college, drafted in the 3rd round by New England, but never really materialized. He played a little bit for the Dolphins, even played on special teams last week, had a couple of tackles, but point being that Chase Winovich has been released by the Dolphins to make room for the signing of Quentin Bell. Take a look at Winovich's stats over his career. 107 tackles, 11 tackles for loss, does have 12 sacks and 26 quarterback hits, but most of that done in the early portion of his career, and the Dolphins have gone ahead and released him from their practice squad. Now, We've got you covered here on Dolphins Today. You guys know that. We're all about bringing you the greatest and latest Dolphins news, trade rumors, injury updates, all that. And that's why you subscribe. The bosses at Chat Sports said, Reba, we need you to get to 48,000 subscriptions. Can you do it? And of course, I said, no problem. Dolphins fans are the best. They always show out. So I believe we can get to 48,000 subs in just a matter of days. So let's continue to build the audience. That's why we're bringing you all kinds of Dolphins content, daily updates, daily trade talk, everything as it relates to the Miami Dolphins. We've got you covered. So don't waste any more time. Go to youtube.com/Dolphins News to subscribe. Now, an interesting development I find, especially as it relates to the roster update, is Jeff Wilson eyeing that return. The running back room has obviously beat up. It's a little bit banged up. Achan's out now. And, of course, Chris Brooks is the latest running back to suffer an injury. So I would love to see Jeff Wilson back and able to help that running back room. We saw Xavien Howard as RB2 in a limited sample size on Sunday against the Panthers. Of course, Raheem Mostert leads the National Football League in total touchdowns. He's our guy. But in today's NFL and Mike McDaniel's system, you got to have multiple running backs. So I would love to see Jeff Wilson on Sunday against the Philadelphia Eagles. And I think it might happen. Take a look at this tweet from David Fioronez talking about Jeff Wilson, who was, quote, prepared enough to play. That's referring to the game on Sunday against the Panthers. But Mike McDaniel said the Dolphins needed to use that roster spot for the offensive lineman, Robert Jones. So Jeff Wilson is a guy that can help you. He's a proven running back in the National Football League. Take a look at his stats from just a year ago. Toted the rock 176 times, 5 touchdowns, 860 yards, averaged nearly 5 yards a carry. So that's a guy that can help this Dolphins offense. Another guy that helps this Dolphins offense, Conor Williams. It was great to see him make a sooner-than-expected return for that game against the Giants, but unfortunately, he wasn't able to go against the Panthers with that groin injury. Likely to sit out from practice moving forward, but still potential for him to play on Sunday against the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday Night Football. Take a look at this tweet. Mike McDaniel said he wouldn't be surprised if Conor Williams doesn't practice Wednesday, but called him day-to-day developments. And that's kind of how he's been the last couple of weeks where, he's a veteran. You don't need to run him out to practice every day and preserve that health for trying to get him to play on Sunday. So, not exactly sure if we'll see him on Sunday, but we know what kind of impact he has on the offensive line, I should say. Also really exciting when you think about Jeff Wilson coming back, potentially Conor Williams, that reinforcements are coming. So part of the Dolphins suffering from the injury bug early in the season, without them being season-ending injuries, means there are guys on the horizon who are eyeing a return. We talked about Jeff Wilson. We talked about Conor Williams. We've talked about Jalen Ramsey. But don't forget about De'Von Achane. I know he's on IR, but he's expected to return as soon as the Dolphins get through that bye week. And, Teron Armstead only played in 2 games, but he's also expected to return. It's not like he's lost for the season. So it's exciting to think of the weapons that the Dolphins have potentially returning sooner rather than later as this team gears up for a run. Already at 5-1, the best record in the AFC, and could be reloading sooner rather than later. I got to give my guys some love. If you were with us on Sunday in the watch party, Raheem Mostert had himself another day with another day of 3 total touchdowns. He's been exceptional both in the run game and in the pass game. He's been a workhorse, and for his efforts, he was named AFC Offensive Player of the Week. So shout out to our guy, Raheem Mostert, 115 yards on 17 carries against the Panthers with 3 total touchdowns, 2 of them on the ground and 1 of them receiving. So don't waste any more time. Show our guy some love in the comments. Spam it 31. You know what to do. That's our guy. Raheem Mostert. Show some love in the comments. Number 31. Type it now.